Hello and welcome back to Sharks Happen. On today's show we are going to go over a very extended length attack, one that has some different qualities to it. Like we've watched a few of the different attacks that have been on video. This would be another one that would probably be kind of common, but we haven't really gone over it. We've gone over similar, so stick around. This is a story on Michael Docherty and we'll get into that next. On October 1st of 1992, Michael Docherty, 28 years old, and a couple friends had arrived on Morton Island. They were going to go to North Point Beach to do some surfing. Michael Docherty's father said that when they got there, they didn't even set up their camp. They were going to camp out and go surfing. Well, they just hit the water and went surfing. This is in the early afternoon. Temperatures are nice. It was a nice day to go ahead and do their surfing. So they're out in the water. They're about 100 yards from shore, and Michael is amongst other surfers, although it doesn't sound like too many of them are very close together. And he's sitting on his board at about 2:30 in the afternoon when suddenly they said that a large shark came up out of the water and grabbed him, which sounds like Nick Peterson when he got grabbed off of the board that he was on and taken down into the water. It came up and grabbed him, I'm not sure where, and dragged him into the water. So Michael's in the water. The witnesses said that they saw the shark come up, grab him, and take him into the water, and then they didn't see Michael, but they saw the water turn red, very red, and they headed for the beach. So they get to the beach. Now, another witness had said that after the shark took Michael, you couldn't see Michael, he's under the water, but the shark is on top of the water continuing to attack. So the shark is probably actively feeding right there, and it's sitting on top of the water and doing so. And they said that it sat there. Rescue didn't show up for 30 minutes. It sat there for about 30 minutes, the one witness said, and then it would move forward like a torpedo at the top of the water and stop, and sit there temporarily, and it would move forward and it would stop. And then, like I said, there's a lighthouse keeper that's nearby that received a call on this shortly after the attack, I do believe, and a half hour later he shows up on the scene. When he gets there, the body is no longer in the shark's mouth, and it is in the surf, but the shark is hanging out around there, which is odd because of a violent attack like that. The shark usually takes off unless it's a one bite situation, a territorial hit, like on David Lilienfeld. Usually that shark's nowhere to be seen. But this one just hung out right around the body when it was done, and they said that the body was real mangled. It was a real mess. So, you know, you have to let your imagination work there. It's probably worst case scenario in the whole situation, just like the pop-off deal, except you got to see pop-off at the top of the water. And, you know, for the people to have to sit there and watch this prolonged attack, it's just one of those, it's got to be as bad as any of them that we've seen. Nellist, pop-off, the robins being taken away. They're tough to watch, and that would be tough to watch too, as the shark sitting on top of the water, and you know he's got the victim underneath him, and you can see, they talk about, a lot of people that are in these attacks talk about how the whole shark kind of reverberates, like a vibration to it, because it's attacking so ferociously. So that's the attack that happens on him. They did get to retrieve the body. The witness said that he thinks this is a 4-meter, 13-foot great white shark. The only other shark that they thought it could be was a bronze whaler, but I don't think you're going to have any problem determining a 13-foot bronze whaler from a 13-foot great white. The mass is going to be much different in the two. It would be like a bull shark, 13-footer to a great white. It would just be too skinny going down the body to even be a great white, and I'm to be a bull shark. So I would say this is a great white, 4-meter. I think that's how I have it down, but I might not have a shark in there because they didn't really identify it one way or the other, and I haven't heard anything about, you know, tooth fragments recovered or anything like that, and I haven't seen any coroner's report on this one. So he goes out there with his friends, gets grabbed off the board. Now, as he's being dragged around, of course, the board is connected to his legs still. So we've had the boards come up in these attacks before. In this attack, because the shark is torpedoing, like they said, so half of the shark, you know, a good portion of the shark is above the water, but the victim's below the water. It's not pulling tension on that line from the leg leash. So the board was just following along with where the shark was going in this situation. We've had it to where the shark does the same thing with the victim in his mouth, but the shark is completely submerged. You don't see the shark. And in a couple of them, it tombstones the board, what they call it when the board is sticking up out of the water because of the tension holding down and the buoyancy of the board. It's going to stand straight up, and that's what happens in some of these other ones. And like I said, there's the Nellis where you see the attack. There's the pop-off where you see, you know, the victim and the shark here and there, but you see the victim most of the time, which is brutal. And then we went over to Cameron Robbins where you're just taking like a bobber down into the water. And this one where it would be just as bad, where you're just seeing the action from the shark, not seeing the victim. I guess the only bright spot is the victim's going to drown before they, you know, maybe before they would realize as much as if they were able to breathe up on top of the water, which is sad that you have to think about it like that, but that's the way I would think about this thing. So it turns out that this attack ends up happening, like I said, at North Beach there in Australia. Now, this was the first attack that they had since September the year before, which would be 1992. 1991. So this is 1992. In 1991 in September, so 7 months before, was the last attack overall in Australia, and it was Lee. That, to have those back to back as your two attacks, because Lee is the one where he was scuba diving. He's on the ocean floor. He's down there with other divers. Two of them are off on the distance, but one of his buddies is nearby him, and that's the guy that heard the thunderous roar behind him, and he took refuge behind a rock, and the shark passed 1.5 feet from him, and if he didn't, he wouldn't have saw that the shark had his buddy in his mouth. That's what he was thrashing back and forth, all violent, so it sounded like a thunderous roar. So you had that one, and then you have no attacks, and all of a sudden you have this vicious, you know, half-hour long attack that ends up happening on Michael Docherty. So, you know, it went down as an attack, a predation. Like I said, I don't think I have the species shark, but they're pretty sure it's a 13-foot great white on that. And like I said, to go ahead and confuse the two would be a little difficult to do. So that's the attack on Michael Docherty. And, you know, if you go into that water, you are much more afraid of those sharks than they are of you. Okay, now I'm going to give you guys a little update. I just got back from Georgia like 5 days ago. I've been down there a couple times, and I'm going back in 2 days. I think Thursday I'm heading back down. I got to do some golfing and fishing again. So just a little update. I went down there and we did 2 days in a row of golfing because his friend is moving back to Rhode Island that lived in the Keys with him, so he stopped by. So we always golfed together when we were down in the Keys. So I went down there and we went ahead and golfed at our Quitman Golf Club, country club. So we're down at Quitman and we're golfing, and the first day me and my father shoot terribly, just like normal, and we're whatever. So we're done golfing, we go home, we relax. Next day we're going out to golf again because Joey's going to head out that day. So we get out and golf, and we start golfing, and I par the first hole. I have lost my ball on that hole more than I've bogeyed that hole, and I ended up parring it. So it's a real easy hole, but it's the first hole, and I don't warm up much other than swing my club twice and then go. So put it out in the fairway, go ahead and par the hole, and I think I'm going to have a good round. My dad's playing pretty well too, so we go through the front nine, and there's two water holes in the front. One of them's a par 3 that's about 160, 170 yards just to carry the water, and I'm not hitting my 5-iron well, so and I'm not hitting my 5-wood well, so I always end up in the water. I did, and you know, we finish out the front, and I ended up shooting 50. I think he shot 49, beat me by 1 in the front. But it felt like we played a lot worse. So then we get on the back and we start playing, and we go through this whole round, and we're both frustrated, like we're playing terribly. And we get done, and I shot 100. He shot 101 because I shot 49 in the back, and he shot I shot 51 in the front. He shot 50. He shot 51 on the back. So he ended up at 101. I ended up at 100. So we did much better than the day before. What we did was there's a par 5 there, and we took and hit our drives, good drives, and we took out you can hit a 5-wood and leave yourself a good 30-40 yards to the pin. Why you would want to do that? Now, up until this time, I was playing smart on these par 5s and taking out a 7-iron after my drive. I hit the 7-iron, and then I'm hitting a 7-iron usually or less to get to the green, which is fine by me. Instead, I'm taking out my 5-wood off the grass, and both of us, top 3 of them in a row, we're just rolling the ball down towards the green. We both threw away at least 5 or 6 strokes there, and then we 3-putted 4 or 5 of the greens. So we both could have been in the 40s there. So we did well. So then it's fishing day. So we're sitting there, we're getting ready to go fishing, just me and my dad, of course. And before we leave, I had gone that morning and got a pop. So I took, and it had the lid and everything, so I took my drinks and my pop, but still had a bunch of it. Before we even went to the boat, I went out the back door and I dumped the pop out in the grass out in the backyard there. So got rid of the juju there. So we head out, and we get out onto the water, and we head over to what is called the Flemish Cap. It's I call it the Flemish Cap. It's a bunch of these lily pads that we fish in, and there's a bunch of crappie, bluegills, and we got catfish in it last time. Can't get a fish to bite there. I'm like, what the hell? So then we go over to the Grand Banks, which is the dock, and I get a bite over there, and I think I might have caught a fish over there. No, I didn't catch a fish. I got a good bite though, and I didn't get the fish. So we fished there a little while. We're not getting nothing, and we're using the same thing we used just 2 weeks before. So I tell him, well, I'm going to use a red and white. So that's the tube. It's called a Crappie Max, and you put that thing on there. So we're going to go to the next place, and now the motor freezes up. He can't even pull it, so he's got to mess with that. He broke his chair while he's fixing the motor. So the motor won't work, so now we're using the little trolling motor to get around. So we didn't go far from where we were at. We didn't go over to our Flemish Cap. We went along the edge, and we found these little lily pads on the side of the thing. Hit a couple of them. The first one we went to, we did pretty well. I think we got 5 or 6 fish out of it. Nice black crappies. All black crappies this time. And then we hit a couple other ones that were right next to it, no fish at all. And then we go to another one, and I told him, well, let's go back to this other one over here. So we go back to this real small one, and we're both pulling out fish at the same time. We're losing fish at the same time. We have so many fish that we ran into, and it's because of that little red and white. So we were both using the red and white, and they were going crazy on it. So I'm driving down Thursday, Friday, we'll be into the fish again. We'll be fishing again, and then we're going to be golfing Saturday and maybe Sunday, and then I head back Monday. So, but I'll have videos coming out for that. But I wanted to give you an update on that, and I also wanted to say that when I got home from that whole, ride where I had gotten pulled over by almost half of Sterling Heights police force, I would think. I told my wife about what happened, and that I was pushing this car, and it turned out to be this one. She says, "Oh yeah, well they announced on the radio they have a sting for people driving like idiots on that strip of road." So I pushed this sting down the road. It wasn't just any unmarked car; it was part of the sting that I was pushing down the road. So that's the update. If there's anything going on, we ended up with 23 crappies, real nice ones. So we actually had a fishing trip instead of a story trip. And hopefully we'll have those fishing trips instead of the story trip. Like I said, we're getting better. So that's the show for today. Thanks for joining me. I'll be back. I'll probably put on another individual attack in a couple days, because I was putting out videos every 4 days for the last 3 months, and I think I got 6 or 7 days in between here. So I'll make it up to you guys. I'll get one out in 2 days. So look for another video. Today is what? Wednesday. Wednesday, if not Wednesday, it'll come out first thing Thursday morning before I head out to go down to Georgia. Thanks for watching. If you go into that water, once again, you got to remember, you are much more afraid of these sharks than they are of you.